It follows the legend of Tal, who is our wild man of the woods, as he kidnaps children from these villages, throws them in his basket of giant snakes, and carries them up into the woods in order to eat them. And he glues them down with pitch in order so that they can't escape. But of course, at one point, he kidnaps a young woman to be his wife, and she defeats him. She rubs this pitch that he's used to glue the children down into his eyes and then pushes him into the fire with a large pole. So she ends up very triumphant, and yet in the worldview of Indigenous peoples, it's always very cyclical, and the ashes of the Tal become the no-see-ums, the mosquitoes, which, as anyone who's lived in Winnipeg knows, is a very important part of our lives. Yes, I would say that it's very rare to have ballet from an oral history. I don't know of a lot of other artists that are creating in this way. And it's also unusual to have a narrator at all. Generally, we rely on the movement, but because this piece is not familiar in the way that maybe Little Red Riding Hood is, I think that giving the audience a reference point that's a bit more literal is important to sharing this history in a good way. And oral history also means including Indigenous language, Ayajutham, my language. And so she has both sections in English to help the audience and in Ayajutham to honor the integrity of that original story. This story is one that was maintained by Elsie Paul, and we're so fortunate that she held on to this, because for a long time these stories would have been illegal, they would have been suppressed at residential schools, and we're lucky that Elsie Paul was able to keep it. Chris Dirksen is a Cree cellist and composer, and is also the creator of all of the music that I'm using for this new piece. Her work is related to mine in a really beautiful way. I feel like we have a great fusion of styles, in that she is classically trained on cello and in composition, but now also has a background in her First Nations community and First Nations worldview. So for us, I think there's a really nice meeting of artistic vision and voice when we're working together.